Later on 4 we have a brand new episode of The Simpsons, but now it's time for the History Detective. History Detective, the show that analyses the past and compares it to the future. To kick the show off, I'm going to ask you my first question. How did the war start? So Charlie, how do you think the war started?
I think it started, by, they were all trying to expand their empire, weren't they? So I think everyone wasn't very happy about each other trying to expand. And the real spark that set it off was France Duke Ferdinand's assassination, and then, just kicked off from there.
Thank you. So Ben, how do you think the war started?
Thank you, History Detective. I believe it started when the Archduke Franz Ferdinand was shot. This caused the Austrians to want to invade Serbia, which was breaking away at the time. The Russian army pledged to defend Serbia as the Germans went to back up the Austro-Hungarians. This caused war with Russia and Germany. The French were dragged into the war by their alliance with Russia, so Germany was at war with France. They chose to invade France by going through Belgium. We were allied with Belgium, so we joined into the war. Then Austria-Hungary declared war on Russia.
Well, thank you. What can I say? You're both correct. You must have very good history teachers. It all began with the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne. He was killed by a Serbian organisation called the Black Hand. This resulted in Austria declaring war on Serbia and shelling its capital. Then, Russia rushed to help Serbia, and Germany went to help Austria. Because of this, France had to help Russia because of their alliance, and then Germany went at war with France. Germany then thought that the best route to invading France was through Belgium, but as Belgium are our allies, they brought us into the war too. The trenches were mostly dug in France. You can go and see them today if you like. Which leads me on to my second question. What were the conditions like in trenches? So Doug, what do you think trench conditions were like?
Thanks, John. Pretty awful, actually. They were a quagmire of blood and destruction, where when you tried to dig deeper to get cover from the machine gun fire, you ended up digging into bodies of your friends and comrades. It was a hellish place to be.
Well, thank you. So Greg, what do you think the conditions in the trenches were like?
Well, they were quite muddy and full of rats and lice and stuff.
These trenches would have been vile. Everywhere you would have seen dead bodies rotting, lice invaded the trenches, and mice were a huge problem. You woke up at night with mice nibbling at your feet or something horrible like that. Another thing the soldiers had to deal with was going over the top. This had an almost 100% chance of death. With the Battle of the Somme, General Haig was in charge, and he used to be in cavalry assaults, so he was not used to this type of warfare.
So he sent the soldiers over like this. And for this poor old fellow, he was almost shot instantly.
Well, I'm afraid we're coming to the end of the show, but I'm going to ask you my final question now. How do you think, the people at home, that wars have changed over time? Here's Mr. Ladley to give us the answer. Mr. Ladley, how do you think wars have changed over the years?
In the First World War, Jonathan, it was a war of attrition where you had one side against the other, thin red line joining them, and what they were trying to do is they were trying to push the red line left to right. There's no cleverness about it. It was literally brute force versus brute force. Second World War, war grew up a little bit. People started getting left and right flanking, going around the outside, trying to be a little bit clever. Now, there's no red line. It's called asymmetric warfare. You've got the enemy attacking you from all sides. Iraq is a good example. You've just no idea where the enemy are. You're in the crowd, they're behind you, they're all over the place. It's called asymmetric warfare. It makes life very difficult for soldiers.
Thank you. Mr. and Mrs. Evans, how did it feel like to be in Britain when the war was going on?
Well, it was very...
So Greg, how do you feel?
Ow!
Women at that time gave out white... What? What? Women at that